Yo, what's up, people? It's the Solar Kid. This is the Other Side of the Sun podcast. I've got my man, Mitchan Adams, Picasso, the producer. Cheers! Now, that's how I know Mitchan. Like, I know him as Pinks originally. It's been years since we've actually caught up. And in that time, since I've seen you, this bra is, as stated by your Instagram profile, a Tech Enthusiast, founder of OZOW, software engineer, entrepreneur, public speaker, inventor.
Yeah.
That's quite, man. That's really interesting.
A pending patent in my name.
Nice.
Software, yeah.
So, fill in the gaps there for me, man. I mean,
you didn't give the last.
What's the last part?
Larry David to the haters.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna put there now, Larry David to the haters. Yeah, okay.
Who's Larry David?
Larry David, Gary V.
You know who's Larry David though? So he's the creators of Seinfeld.
No wonder I don't know. I was never a big Seinfeld fan.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, he was on SNL and all of that, and he went on to make his own show called Tech Enthusiast.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that show either.
Wow, okay, then it's really good. Isn't like that. I feel like that oak sometimes embodies me. I can have the best intentions to help somebody and then end up on with the wrong end of the stick.
That's what I'm saying, because your humor is like too high a grade for us mere mortals, bro. Like, I don't get that shit. Like, I got many friends who grew up on. I have friends that still watch Seinfeld. Bjorn, you know, BD. He fucking, that's his Friday night runs, glass of whiskey and Seinfeld reruns and shit.
I would have expected him to be with South Park.
Yes, I don't know actually. I was more South Park. I don't know. I think he was a bit. But yeah, I know people who like that. But yeah, fill in the gaps there, bro. So last time I actually physically saw you or was doing shit, we were busy working on the first Awehness project. Our own live stage where we hosted our first, probably the first hip-hop concert in Bosmont, and we had artists from all over Joburg performing. Did stuff on MTV Africa, Channel O, MTV Base. Had sponsors, Jabu Stone, everything. It was quiet, man. That was a hard event.
I remember Mo was like, he got endorsed by them because he had like dreads.
Yeah.
And then pitch up and had like lip gloss on there. I was teasing the guy.
Yeah, no, he was looking a bit like a cross-dressing version of, yeah, better not. Hey, Mo. Big ups.
That's normal now, right? But then, what was that, like over 10 years ago?
More than 10, yeah. That was 2008,
like
9.
Yeah. Maybe even before that, yeah. Before Philip was here.
Who's Philip?
The World Cup, we used to call it Philip.
Is it?
Feel it is here. But the Oaks accent when he said it is here. And so Oaks just started calling it Philip.
Yeah, so what happened, bro? You were a sick producer, MC extraordinaire. I didn't even... there was an evil genius in the background there, busy building up an empire or working on the blueprint for an empire.
Well, look, dude, I was always more creative than logical, I guess. And you know Lyle, right?
Yeah.
So he grew up like next to me, and he's the most logical oak in the world. If you think my stuff's to higher grade, now if I come up with a crazy concept with him, he'll have me step him through it to make it logically sound to him, and then it can be funny. Right? So that's why it has to be that higher grade type level. But he gets my humor 100% now. And other people just they're like, what's going on? Why did we have to make it logical? So yeah, he was always into maths, heavy math buff, and also into programming, whereas I was doing like art as a matric subject and
You're
I
not doing
wanted.
programming?
Eh?
Aren't you doing programming also at one stage?
Not in varsity, yeah. So, but not during school. And so I actually didn't want to go study. I was just gonna, wing it, make some music, or if I have to go study, can I go study sound engineering? My father was like, I'm not gonna pay for no sound engineering, that might as well push the money down the drain. At that point, I mean, there was oaks like, I guess Selwyn was coming out and Double HP was just starting out. Max Normal also coming onto the scene. But nobody was making money through South African music.
Well, the Waddy and them, they were kind of, they were kind of.
Okay, that's why it became Ninja, because it just wasn't working,
Well, he went through a few evolutions since then. He had the Constructors Code, Constructors Corporation.
And he used his own name.
TV, yeah. Walking to the Jones, and then only after then I saw the Unbolt, I was like, shit, this is sick. But that, for me, he's like a method actor where you go and you embody the character that you want to become. He goes full force. Even like Odie, like Craig Palm, he's also the same, like a method. He loves the life of the characters that he plays.
Yeah.
But you had a label also. You had a Scratch Beats Entertainment started.
Yeah, before I get there though, I decided to not study, and my father said, well, you need to learn that there's more to life than being colored, right? Because as a colored, you live in a box. So
colored, once again, for my international viewers, is not a derogatory term, but an actual term that we use in South Africa for people of mixed identity and origin.
It's not just that. You can be a mixed origin and not be colored. For instance, my wife.
I'm saying it's a term that we've been given by our previously, our fucking apartheid government. It was given to us.
That became a culture on its own. So
which is debatable, but yeah, true.
So, I mean, like Cook Sisters, part of the culture, all of those things, the Swirl Coast. And
Swirl Coast.
Yeah. I was the type of one that was chilling in the shops asking them for 5 rand and stuff, With a start. It's maybe, I don't know. Just, it wasn't the right way to go. But that seemed the right thing, and my father was like, nah. My cousin decided she wanted to go on a Kontiki tour at the end of our matric year. She didn't want to go alone, so we like basically the same age. So my father kind of forced me to do it. He said, you're going. And then I had to raise funds to go on the strip I didn't want to go on. So, washing cars, having like roti and
curry evening, the infamous curry evening.
And I think still we didn't raise enough money, so I think my father still he put some extra funds in there for me to send me over. And that was a 30-day thing. So it started in the UK, then we went across to France, and then it's like Liechtenstein, Germany, Italy, and then you come all the way back again. And that opened up my eyes big time by the time I came back. I was 17 at that time. And yeah. And the thing is, he never traveled before, but he figured, need to get this oak out of this view. Because that's all you see is the racial tension in SA.
Yeah, that's how we grew up. We don't even look beyond our own borders, like within Africa, bro. Like we don't even realize like the beauty of the mass of the country that the continent that you are born onto, bro.
Yeah. So by the time I flew back, so I came back, I remember on a New Year's Day still. And my parents picked me up and driving home from the airport. Now, probably driving there, I was like, yeah, that's shithole, can't wait to get out of this country type thing. Driving back from the airport, I was like, look at how green this place is. Look how many people there are that don't have such pale faces. Look at the color, look at the unity, look at the different languages. I was like, nah, this place has everything. Just for some reason, we haven't move further from where we are now. For some reason, I was just like, no, there's potentially I need to do something. So I did decide to go study, and then I went with whatever Lyle was doing, which was computers. But I went to Tech, you went to university. And then after that, it was quite easy to get the job once you're a software engineer.
Yeah, especially in those times, it was like,
I think even more so now. You look at the US stats, there's something like 80,000 new developers that will be trained and qualified, but they need 100,000 of them.
Yeah, they're busy teaching kids code here already. 7, 8 years old kids are learning code and stuff.
Yeah, so that was the beginning. Once I got the job, I had some money. Once I had money, I was like, so I've done what my father wanted me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do, just music. And I didn't necessarily go study the sound engineering. I just figured I'll buy equipment and do stuff myself. That's when I met you guys, and you were doing Brain Produce at the time.
Jeez, Brain Produce.
I had like a 200 rand mic with a PC that still had that turbo button on, and MMX technology. I was using Windows Sound Recorder. I would put CDs in and then use Windows Sound Recorder to record like pieces of the song, and that's how I was sampling. And then
and Reason. We're using Reason.
Windows Sound Recorder. That's how I sampled, and that's how I made beats.
And then the beats.
The beats, I would take like a Dre song and play the drum beat, and then just trim it, and then have the kick.
So what would sample the kick and then sample? That's fucking innovation shit right there.
It took long, dude, because you had to have like a few Windows recorders open, and then one was your main recorder, and then you would play things at the exact right time, and then you create your loop, and then you repeat it after.
Yeah, that's fail, bro. That's proper innovative shit, man.
It was more difficult, and the only way I knew how. Then I met Max from Titus Track. And they introduced me to Fruity Loops and Reason. I was like, why am I wasting my time on Windows Sound Recorder?
Sampler.
They have stuff so much easier, so much easier to sample. I think those Oaks helped everything. Seeing their whole setup, they had pop filters, they had a mic, they had monitors. And I was like, they didn't even have the type of money I was making at the time. I was like, I've literally mentally blocked myself to put myself in this, I can't afford things, the mic is too expensive. Yeah, the mic is dear, it's like $6,000, but I can afford it, just don't have so many beers in a month, and then now you got a good mic. And then what? Then you can get the foam, and then you can get the next thing and the next thing, and you build it up from there. So it was all about the plan. And once I saw what they had, I was like, yo, let me start building on this. And also when I met you guys.
Remember Nayland Studio?
Yeah, but I think, you were working off stolen equipment, I think.
Well, we will for
I probably bought some stolen equipment myself because it was just cheaper. A Draghi O comes and gives you a mixer for $1,000, and you're like, there's no way this 16-channel mixer is 1,000 rand.
We had a nice setup, and I mean we were studying sound engineering at that time as well, me and Kurti.
Look, as a sidetrack, I was watching the evolution of hip hop and all of that, and I don't think the American hip hop would have gotten to a certain point if it wasn't for stolen equipment there either. So back in
drug dealers as well being able to afford that shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so there was all of that, and also working on turntables and all of that. But there was the riots that went down, and when the riots went down, the first places those Oaks looted were the sound and electronic shops, and they just stole mixers and all of that, and then everybody had the equipment and went to the next level. So you go through the motions, and it's also where we were at the time.
No, but that's the thing, over here, when I, obviously my contemporaries over here, they tell me about what it was like making music in the early 2000s or late 90s over here in England. And then they were struggling, but then when I think how they were struggling compared to how we were struggling, it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, they still had a Mac, and they still could afford a S3000 sampler, the first Macs, and you know what I mean, or you know what I mean? That kind of struggling, it's like, you know, they'd have to save up to buy like whatever G4.
A pop filter.
You know what I mean? Like it's all standard, you know. But it is, I suppose, it is still, you know. But I mean, the struggle in a first world country is different to, you know, where we come from, bro. I remember like my first stuff I had my father's 80s, you know, those hi-fi combo units, the turntable and the 2 cassettes. And I used to record the one cassette to the other. And I used to plug my keyboard into the mic input of the hi-fi to get the keys in and stuff. And then like layer and layer. And then after like 5-6 layers, it just sounds like shit. Like shit. But I used to make it happen. And then you record over the cassette. You put the sticker most over the cassette, blah, 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 and then you record.
No, I don't think I ever recorded music like that. But yeah, I definitely did what you were doing. I never recorded it. The only time I started recording is when stuff went digital.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you guys are a few years younger than me, no? I think I finished school in 98. You guys finished in 96 or 95. In 2001, sorry, yeah. Oh yeah, so you guys are a few years younger.
Yeah. So yeah, we went digital, did that, and then I decided let me do a thing called Scratch Beats. Now, because I was making money and because I had a father that wanted me to get out of the life. Interesting fact, that Awehness concert was at the Bill Jardine Stadium, right? Bill Jardine is one of the colored struggle stalwarts of apartheid days. And he would try and coach his kids as well as my father, because my father was big time friends with his kids, the Jardines. And they've gone on to be CEOs of companies and big guys. I think One Oak is like the president of
they live in Fleurhof as well, the Jardines. I think I know them. I must know them.
Yeah, one of them used to live in Fleurhof. There's a bunch of brothers. Other one became like the CEO of Prime Media.
Oh.
Big company. They became big in there, and that's largely due to their father and what he's instilled in them. My father said he also tried to put the same thing in him. But I mean, if my father said it's like, if it's not your child, you try, and if you don't get it right, you're like, oh, well. But your child, you'll moor him till he comes right. So, but my father still remembers that from that, and he tried to push that into me. So he got me to buy properties early on. So he only started to get into the property game after he turned 30. So he had me when he was 19. So we were kind of like friendly. But by the time I was 20 years old when I got my first job as a qualified software engineer. And he said, I was still living with my parents. He said, don't worry about the money here that you're earning. Take that, buy a flat, and then rent it out. And it should just cover all of that. And then, pay what you can here in the house, pull in your petrol, because it kind of balances out if you do that. And then hold on to that property. And then as your salary increases, you'll be able to pay off that thing. So I bought a flat, had that. And then 3 years later, I bought a 4-bedroom house.
So that was that house in Florida, no?
So at the age of 23, I had 2 properties, now a registered company, Scratch Beats Entertainment, and I had a decent job in my software engineering career. So I also built that studio at the back, which was fairly professional, I think.
That was good, man.
And the sound quality coming out there was better than most places I saw. It was probably as good as the real studio. So at 23, I thought, yeah, I made it, did my thing. And it was just coincidental that I'm just in hindsight thinking of it, that we were at Bill Jardine Stadium, and Bill Jardine had such an influence on my father in order to get to that point. But that gets to you, when you don't have money and you get money and you get success, you become quite arrogant. And I'm glad I learned my lessons there. For me, like having 20 grand at 23 was like, I'm a boss, because nobody else was earning that.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at it now, I laugh at it, but yeah, it's like 20 grand, and then I go to the club and you're buying everybody shots. You know, sitting by, you don't even know the oaks by the bar, but you're trying to impress other people. You don't even know. Buying them all double glam finishes that cost $60. Yeah, pay for this. And yeah, people think you're home from there, but then you go home, you don't see those people again, and then
you're wonky.
Maybe you'll see them again, and they'll remember you, but they have that expectancy of those guys gonna buy us some stuff. So there was a lot of guys that got on for a free ride, and yeah, I had to get out of that. It got to a crappy state.
So what was the pinnacle of, say, scratch beats like that? Because obviously, I think that happened after I left when I came back to the UK, and then you started scratch beats. You were doing well. You put out the first mixtape, which was Kwai. I remember all that. You had all those artists on board.
We did 3 mixtapes. It was in a form of a radio station.
Yeah, sick concept.
Called Scratch Beats Radio. So the first one that we did was just fucking hot, you know, like talking on the mic, Nemo, I think Stan was also on that one.
Uppercut.
Yeah, Uppercut. I did like 2 tracks for him. Yeah, it was quite cool. There was a lot of talking. So it's like a radio show. So there was like the initial like welcome to the show, then we play a track, and every track we played was from us, you know, like a mixtape thing, and old school mixtape style, like 50 Cent style.
Was I on the first one?
Yeah, the Seedless Tomato was on there, yeah.
Oh yes, I was still missing the Seedless Tomato back then.
Yeah. But most of that, we would like take beats from songs that existed, like the game, and then just freestyle over that, or not freestyle, like do our written raps over it. But that's what 50 Cent was doing at the time.
Was EPX9 on there?
EPX9 featured, yeah. So he was just putting everybody on that we came into contact with during our journey, since Awehness still then. EPX9, Black Diamond, Protesta. There was a bunch of came through on that as well from the UK.
Oh yeah, Mass Law.
Yes. Oh, and Titus Track and them were on it as well. Just Max and them as well. Yeah, so there was a bunch of guys on there. But then we literally just printed it we recorded on like blank CDs. And then we just wrote there with a Koki, like SBR for Scratch Beats Radio Episode 1. Then we go to clubs, dude. And we would just stand outside the club as people are standing in a line to go in, and we give it to them. And as they're coming out to now go home, then we blow them in the parking lot, and we go to the car. And you know, Owens are like ready to say, why are these guys approaching the car? Yes. Listen to it on your way home. You know, let us know what track you like and all of that. We started a website in conjunction with that, and it was an email address. I don't think people were ready for websites then.
That's the thing, you know what? There was something, I think that time, literally at that time was just before, like, I don't even think there was Instagram or like Facebook or anything at all. Right?
None of that was going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was such a in-between stage, man, because
I think Facebook just started, MySpace was fading out at the time.
But I think the most important thing is that it wasn't like where now everyone has internet on their phones.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that.
It's like, data was already ridiculously expensive anyway. So the only people with phones with internet would be like people who...
Yeah. It wasn't... To download a song of 1 meg, you're going to wait for half an hour for that. Maybe, you know.
That's what I'm saying. If it was like 10 years later or like now, yeah, it would have been perfect, you know.
Yeah.
But then I've seen other things grow in that time. Like I had Jason Goliath on one previous episode of the podcast, and he was telling me about Awehness Day and like how they grew their comedy, you know, and that kind of grew more with the word of mouth kind of thing. But like I feel maybe comedy is an easier thing to promote because even with us, hip hop was still like a smallish. Everyone was house music and DJs, and So I mean, I'm sure the Owens that you gave CDs to, they must have been who's this Owens? I got that.
Yeah. No, it was. Look, I was part of Jason's thing because Kate was part of.
Oh yes, of course, the great Kate. Big up.
Yeah.
Out.
She's most the manager or probably CEO of the Goliath label. But before that, she was part of Scratch Beats, and that's his brother and sister. So I remember, the initial days at this place called Woo. What was it? I can't remember. But it was a dingy place. And it was more for like Bushy Owens to come through, the colored people, mixed race guys. So it didn't have mass appeal, but it started somewhere. And it was quite grimy in the beginning. It was intense, and they hustled to get to their spots. But Jason already had like a personality. I met him at Macro during my student days. I was like because I was studying software, so I said, okay, I can sell computers for you guys. So I was a salesman in the computer section.
Okay.
He was like a salesman.
Yeah, telling me about the fucking units he was pushing there, bro.
Just like on a Saturday, dude, when you go there, then they have all these unwanted cameras, like 1,000 of them. And they say, Jason, we need at least $200 on this. Whatever you put on top, that's yours. Yeah, sure. Then the way he's sober, I used to just stand there in awe listening to the guy. How he hypes it up and then talks about it for like 2 hours and gets people to gather around him. People are like, there's like hundreds of people like standing around this pallet just with cameras on. And he's like, okay, nobody can touch it yet. Nobody can touch it. If you want these cameras, better start running. Don't walk. There's too many people here. And he's like, go. And then people just start grabbing. It's like Black Friday. Grab it, they're gone. He makes his commission on it, probably charged them $350, so he made $150 of every unit. Yes. Then they chain the next set of units. And he just did that all day on a Saturday. Made tons of funds.
Jesus. That's pure skill and talent there, bro. Honestly. Like I've never been good at selling things. I've never wanted to be a salesman like that.
No, he was proper. So he already had that in him, and I think he got to like a deal with Castle Lager to be like the ambassador, because it's like, fluffy and there's big.
Looks like a dude who drinks Castle and has a braai on a Saturday.
Yeah, so he actually had to drive that whole thing. And when I met him, he was saying he wants to establish a brand for comedy. Comedy doesn't have a brand. At the time, there were many other big comedies, guys out there, but you wouldn't know who was behind them. You knew the people, but not the brand at the back of them. So the only one I knew at the time was Whacked, which is Dom Flisness. But that's it. The rest of it was, I just know the comedians. I don't know the people.
Well, I mean, we don't think of, comedy as in sense of like, what's his name? Leon Schuster. Did he do stand-up? He didn't really do stand-up.
He did slapstick videos.
Yeah, slapstick movies.
So it was like,
Barry Hilton.
Mark Lottering, there was...
Mark Lottering, of course.
Barry Hilton. So there were a few guys that were doing anything, but you knew them. You didn't know the brand behind it. And that's what he wanted to do, was to create a brand that represented guys. And he did it, right?
Yeah, majorly. Big up Thanos if you're listening.
I know. That was funny. Got it right, I think.
Yeah, so then how come, why did it end then? Like, how did Scratch Beats end? Like, what happened? Was it just...
Dude, so... You get to a point, there's two parts to this. There's the real Owens, so hip hop, it should be about, expressing the environment that guys are in. And then there was the other element of hip hop where people were just like, I want to be cool and out of this. So you get
gangs all and just fucking...
Yeah, you get a lot of drugs in the studios and real gangsters, real things happening and popping up that you don't want to really associate with. But it happens. And then you got the that gets dropped off by his mother. And then he comes in and raps about Gucci and his Ferrari that he drives around and picks up. So you're like, where am I? I like a Black Thought, Most Def type guy, where it's like more conscious rap and not necessarily on the one side where it's just full on gangsterism, or on the other side where it's super fake. So I was struggling to find guys that were on that tip, and also to make it commercial enough. Because if you do get on that tip, you're not gonna make money.
Yeah, because it's too serious. So like, yeah.
Yeah, and we did get to a point though where we found some commercial things. So I was doing a lot of stuff with these oaks called Clone Proof.
I know Clone. Yeah, he's fucking a producer.
Yeah, yeah, we got to a point where we actually got a song that Oaks wanted on the radio, proper. At the time, I just got engaged. It was like 2012. I was considering moving to Cape Town because my wife is a trained fashion designer. Figured, fashion design, Cape Town is the hub for fashion. You can go there, software development I can do from anywhere. So why stick around here?
Really? Most people from Cape Town think Joburg is the place to be for everything.
No, so regards to fashion, all the fashion pieces are there. So Edcon's the only one here. Everybody else is there.
Okay.
Sheen. Fashion is there, dude. Like and creativity. If you want business, you come this side. But creativity was all down there. And there were these Oaks. They were on the drug tip. They were out of a house for a bit because they stole from their parents. The parents kicked them out, but they didn't tell me that story. They just told me they got kicked out. And I knew one of the guys that was involved, and I suspected that Oak actually did, but I didn't know they were involved themselves. Turns out they robbed their own parents' house. And guess what happened while they were by me?
That's a very common story. I know it sounds bad, but yeah, it's terribly, common.
Yeah, I know a guy that, this one guy pulls up to the other person's house, goes into the house. This other guy steals the car in front of the house, but he's there with them. Just because the car's unattended, he steals the car and then sells it for drugs and comes back all right. Now, the thing is, comes back and shares the drugs and all of that with the guys, and then I was like, but where's my car? Messed up. Druggies do some weird things. Yeah. But these guys stole my equipment, some of it, and I hate those guys. It's like they don't follow procedure. You're not supposed to buy stolen goods. You need receipts. They just give the guys the stuff, and ended up just saying, "Nah, I'm not ready." That was like the low point. It's like when you're free from you. I'm gonna go to Cape Town. So I said to my wife, let's go. Packed it up, but 2 days after we got married, went off to Cape Town, lived there for about 2 years. And I was like, that for me was like my Tennessee. The Arrested Development song, Tennessee? It's like now he was trying to find himself, and then he found himself in Tennessee. That was Cape Town for me.
Yeah, no. Everyone needs that, bro. For me, it was London. I just ended up staying here forever, but I needed it. It was literally at that point, the same thing. I mean, like, even before Awehness and that, like with Brain Produce in 2005, me and Kurt were studying. We were doing well, bro. We were making like gang shout every weekend of all the clubs, and we had the DJs, managing the DJs, doing all those gigs, and like my phone was going off the hook, and like it was just too much, and like I felt like I never had the time to develop myself as a person, you know what I mean, to actually like hone my craft in anything I was doing, because I was just all over the place, just hustling on, and it was good. And then literally when I came to London, everything I had to go back to zero, and that was, that was amazing for me, because literally I started from zero, you know what I mean, from scratch. Taught myself to play guitar, got involved in loads of things I've always wanted to travel, tour with bands and play, just stuff that I always envisioned, So I completely get that. So
I think because we were alone there, there was no support base.
That's the thing,
Cape Town is cliquey. If you're not from Cape Town, don't come to Cape Town. You're going to start a business there, nobody's going to come support you, because who are you? Where did you come from? But we found families. The first thing I did, because I I'm not a trained sound engineer, bro, but I have the ear.
Yeah.
And I have the technical ability to learn how to drug the knoppies.
Yeah.
So when I was still in Joburg, I remember I was at a point still with scratch beats, and it's funny that at the point where we got music on radio, I said, nah, that's it for me. But before that, wanting to get stuff on radio, I was like angry, and my mother-in-law also said, if you want, you need to give your talent to God before you can give it to the world. It was like, okay. Well, basically, she said I must like volunteer on the church sound team, which I did. And dude, like
mentorship.
That desk is like huge. That's this top quality stuff you're working on. They're paging, you know, when you watch that video with the Dr. Dre and Eminem and the things move on its own. It's the first time I got to engage with that. And, I was super impressed and learned a lot from that. And then when I came back to my 16-channel mixer at home, I was like, I actually know a lot more on how to use this thing, and my sound got better from that. So when I moved to CapeTown, naturally, the first thing people did was invite us to church and then ask me if I could do the sound. Because a lot of the churches you go to, just hear the drums and it's just like, I can't be it. But once you get that sound right, dude, and the music sounds right, then the pastor can come and preach whatever.
I mean, live sound, bro, especially even like in the States on the church circuit, like, I mean, even all the tutorials and stuff that you watch online, a lot of those guys are in the church scene, bro. It's such a big industry. It's a massive.
Yeah, it's proper. And then the lighties, they love sound, kids. And so we had a bunch of kids because we were like in the gallery on the top for the sound, which is, I thought was crappy because now I can't hear I'm up here and the sound's getting trapped up there. So I would always go downstairs to walk back up. But the kids would be hanging out there, and someone said to me, well, you know, we don't have a youth here and the kids seem to like you, so let's start a youth. So we started a youth, myself and my wife. And not like we are the most knowledgeable people in the faith, but that actually helped us strengthen our faith because now we have to learn. You know, we have to actually start reading the Bible and getting into it, not just listening to what people tell you about the Bible. And that was interesting. I got to grow in that as well. And those lighties, you want to know musicianship? Those lighties.
I mean, CapeTown has always been like, that's one thing I always kind of envied about CapeTown was because of like, when you see colored or bushy people from CapeTown, they're always playing instruments, they're singing. My father was from CapeTown. But like in Joburg, it's like everyone is just DJs, they just want to mix on the deck. No one is playing instruments and stuff like that.
No, those also proper down there, those kids. But the one thing they didn't know was how to, you know, program the stuff. But they actually taught me how to understand and read notes. So for instance, I made a song that plays the piano that sounds like I'm literally playing the piano, but I can't play the piano.
Programmed.
I just programmed it. But we can take a MIDI keyboard and they do that. So that will take me long to do that. Oak just plays the tune on MIDI keyboard and we put it into the program, and then the things are split up, and then I show them how to use that. So there's a lack of trade-off, you know. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I might get back into music. But if I ever get back into music, it would have to be like something else. They also introduced me to Christian hip-hop, which for me before that was Kirk Franklin.
Yeah.
And that is like, you know, cheesy bubblegum. But they actually introduced me to a whole new stable called Reach Records, Lecrae, Andy Mineo. And this is like real stuff, dude. This is like real hip hop. I was super impressed. I was like, if I ever get into it, this is what I'm gonna do. This is real hip hop, Christian hip hop.
That's interesting because I never knew that you were even into any sort of spiritual or like into any religious type of stuff before.
I'm proper into it now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've always been like involved in that side of things. Even like from before when you knew me and stuff like back home, I used to be like a youth leader in the church, stuff like that. And you know, so I've always been very interested in, you know, the spiritual side of things. And I used to read the Bible at And even back then, bro, I'd already read the Bible like twice. When I was already studying. For me, I was always into multi-faith and, different types of.
Look, I only read the Bible for the first time maybe about 3 years ago.
Long.
From
It's long.
It's long, but I think I hyped it up way too much, and I also realized that we're not reading it properly. Like OZOW read it like a story, like fairy tale thing, but like if you actually study the scriptures and you understand the language that it was derived from and where it's going, and you're like, there's a lot more in this. It's not just in the words and then carrying on. So yeah, that's I like reading that. I like learning more in the faith of it.
So where are you now? Like you're involved in you're Christian, obviously. You're involved in the church and that. Well, like what denomination is it?
I don't like to do that. I don't like religion at all. 100% hate religion. I see how it splits people up. My father was Anglican, my mother was Catholic. We believe in the same thing, but there's that clash.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, then my father basically left the church until I was 6. So I only went to church for the first time probably when I was 6, and we went to, and that was like happy clappy things. But even there, you see the hypocrisy in people, and like one thing I remember, and people always say it now, it's like, you heard what the pastor said? Yeah, I'm like, I don't care what the pastor said. The pastor isn't, pastor can say whatever he wants.
A man like you and me.
Yes. So it's about your relationship with God, and how it's your faith and how in tune you are with that. Yes, give me a sec. I think there's a kid peeking.
Yeah, I've got a few outside my door here, just
knocking on it.
No, they're not knocking. I can just hear them out there too and stuff. Yeah, I just basically recently recovered from COVID, bro. I had the virus. Yeah, I had it, bro. And I've been here like a week now, but yeah.
Sheesh. Okay. I don't know if
I'm still at home. The kids are still at home because we've had to self-isolate for 2 weeks, so they're only going back to school next week.
That's wild. Well, I don't know if I've had it. I felt like I had it, but hey.
Possibly. I mean, that's the thing. You don't really know. I mean, it's such a weird thing. Like my symptoms were really light, so I don't know. Speaking of which, man, how has this been? And come tell us, bring us to present day, bro.
Yeah, so in CapeTown, basically. So myself and Lyle, because we've known each other our whole lives, we just work together all the time. So we're like, I need extra pocket money. Look, there's a documentary coming out where you can watch all of us on YouTube. But so I was in heavy debt at that point because of the studio, because of the houses that I owned, and bad tenants that came through and all of that. I was in a heavy debt, and I was also living in CapeTown. So I needed extra money. So Lyle and myself, we just started doing stuff on the side, moonlighting. So we started a software company, and then we would just do bespoke software for a whole bunch of other guys. And there is my other business partner, Thomas. He was a very successful serial entrepreneur. During 2010, he had a site called Smoku, and the company I worked for was a soft payment processor, so like a PayPal type thing. And he was one of the clients, but he would phone in and complain, and it's very Steve Jobs-ish, right? So I don't go the way he wants it is in a phone and take a chance to see what he can get you to change on your company to suit him better. And my CEO was not up. He didn't like this, tuning him. So he put me in the boardroom with a guy, and I think he thought I was like an owner in the business because now, I am in the boardroom with him. I listened to him, the guy, he had good ideas and all of that, but it's not my company, and you can't go to somebody else's company and tell him what to do. So I was just entertained. The guy was nice, cool. And then he kept in touch. And he would follow us. At this point, Facebook is there now. So we putting our businesses out on Facebook and all of that. And he's liking all of our things and all of that. And then I have my daughter in CapeTown. And that's when we decided we needed a base of some sort to help us with the kids. So we moved back up to Joburg. Also, like, Oaks don't pay you, in CapeTown. I think it's different now because CapeTown's become like a startup capital. But back in the day, it's like, people at the coast get paid less than people in Joburg, so my salary wasn't like where it should be. And the more I was looking around in CapeTown, the more I was finding I couldn't get the money I wanted there. Moved back to Joburg, I got like the decent funds. Still with the same company that promoted me, made me their manager. I was then in charge of like 30 guys or something. And it was awesome. So we moved back up, and then Thomas reached out to me. He's like, dude, let's work together on some other project. He wanted to revitalize his own company in some way. I said, okay, cool, let's do this. So we met up. He showed me his ideas. I brought Lyle in. I brought some other guys in. We tried it. Then he was running another company at the time, and he was like, okay, so in this other company, there's also bespoke software you can sell to clients, because they were doing like websites and Google advertising and stuff for these guys. So we were like, yeah, you can come and assist with that, and then we can also still work on this other projects. So cool. So I resigned from my job, joined him. Other guys also resigned. I didn't resign just yet. And that failed big time, massively. And we were like, okay, let's grasp at straws. What else can we work on? The next thing. And everything just kept failing. We're losing out on money. Well, from his side at least. So his business was going under because they had to pay us salaries, so we had to resign from that. It was a hell of a time, dude. Like, so I thought I was in bad debt, thinking that this was gonna bring me out of debt. And again,
just compounded.
I wasn't ready for money. We were spending money on yachts and boats at that time, mine, before we even owned the money. It just got worse. So it was a wild time. But in the meantime, there was some magic happening at my old company where a deal had fallen through. My ex-boss said he was a bit angry because he found out who I went to go work with. I didn't know he had.
That's how I was going to ask you about conflicting interest, bro.
I wasn't doing payments at the time, dude. We were doing some, but he had some other ideas, and he just went crazy on his side, badmouthed me, which I think resulted in a lot of people leaving the company there. And there was a deal that fell through for a piece of software that I wrote on that side. So now all of a sudden there was interest on this piece of software, like to say. Also at the time we created something called iCommerce, which, you know what Shopify is? It's like a South African version of Shopify. Because it was $100 sign up, and then you still don't have any South African payment gateways on there. So like PayPal doesn't work in South Africa. It does now, but it never then. Yeah. And so now you're paying what at the time was 10-1. So you're paying $1,000 as a startup for the site, and then you don't have any payment gateways that work in the country. So we decided to make something more South African focused, localized. You pay $100 a month, and then you'll have South African gateways on there. And the thing is, the price of the gateways was expensive, the fees on it. So we're looking at what would work better. And then coincidentally, the software that I wrote is the answer to that at the other company. And these other guys needed something. Like kind of planning it out, like how would something like this work, from scratch, like new, what would work. And so we started on that, and these guys came and they were like, they were throwing big bucks on the table, 50 million. Here's 50 million, do it for us, sell it to us. And then we'll sell it back to you type. And like, yes, like 50 million, that sounds nice. The business, dude, like he was like, nah, if they're willing to pay 50 mil for it, it's worth more than 50.
Yeah.
So let's do it and then license it. But that deal never happened until like 2 or 3 years later. That was all just talk at the time. We just used like the smaller clients as guys. And in the meantime, he was trying to sell it to other payment gateways in the same way like these guys would have bought it from us. And when we brought the software to other guys, they then went to my ex-boss and said, hey, look at this software. You're not the only guys around the block now. You're going to have to give me a cheaper price. Which caused him to hire private investigators and all of that. 2014, I was jobless with a lawsuit. I lost. So I couldn't work with Lyle and Thomas anymore. I was banned from them until my restraint was over. If you lose your job in December, dude, don't think you're gonna get a job again. Like, there's no interviews, nobody's hiring. People are getting ready.
December, it's closed.
My son's gonna be born on the 8th of January the next year.
Wow.
So it was wild times, dude. And that's when you see people that care about you come around you. I mean, there's a part of you that you want to be a man's man, you know. You want to be your own man, and never take money or borrow from anybody. Yeah, start your own company on your own 2 feet. Nah, bro. You can't do that. You need people around you to help you pay bills when you can't, to assist you with things. I mean, we got assisted quite a bit by everybody, and that's why also when I got my first payout, I helped a bunch of folks as well. That
makes sense, bro. It makes sense.
Burdened with debt, like the one oaks, like the guys want to come repossess my car. Like, how much do you owe? Like 20 grand. Yes, 20 grand. You know, give 100 grand to this. So yeah, gave away a lot of money in the beginning. Don't think I'll do that again now. Because once you let the oaks know where to get the money, they'll keep getting into trouble and come back to you. So but it was good to help oaks back then. I mean, I had the lawsuit. I was kind of out of a job, but I knew I couldn't work for anybody anymore. So, because I just work differently now. My mindset was completely different. I didn't do the hours thing, none of that.
And then that was like basically the inception of OZOW and where it is now, basically. Is that
so? At the point when we got sued, that was already iPay. So we just changed the name from iPay to OZOW.
Okay.
And OZOW only came about last year. Whereas it's the same company, we just changed names.
Doing the same thing before anyway, though. Yeah.
It's the same product. But now I had a lawsuit against me and I couldn't work with the guys. So I went and I got a contract with bank and I worked with them for 3 months. I had a 3-month contract which helped to pay the bills. And after that 3-month contract, I could actually go back and work with the guys. But after now having my stable salary again and not really working for a boss, because on contract, I was my own boss. At the end of the month, I give them an invoice and then they sign it. And I didn't have to worry about my bills anymore and all of that. So I wasn't too keen on going back. So I stuck around for another 3 months. And Lyle and other oak they kept like speaking to me to say, come back. And then I said, I'll come back if that other deal gets signed. The deal that was supposed to kick off everything. And I think only in October, so I signed another 3-month contract. And only in October did they say, cool, we're going to sign a contract soon. But they needed me to come back to join to, go full force on it in order to move it forward. The thing is, because I had the most experience in the payment industry. I had been there for 12 years already. Lyle is a great coder, understands everything structural, that word. And but I had the experience in payments also because my mind is a bit more creative, and I think that's something that I also missed on the whole story here, because I had the creative thing in me, and I also now have the skill set of making software. I can do whatever I want. Whereas you have people come to you like, I got an idea, I got a crazy idea, so why don't you do it? Because I need a developer. Sorry. Now I could develop my own ideas.
Yeah.
So with Lyle in there helping me with the structure, we could make something really great, but they needed me to come back because I had most of the experience in the payment industry.
That's interesting, man. I'm just like relating it to me because it's the same. It's almost similar because I've always been a creative. I started as a a poet and a wordsmith and a rapper and whatever, and with music. And yet I studied sound engineering and spent years working in recording studios and whatever and stuff, and developing the technical side of it. And now I'm at the point where basically, like you say, you can be creative and then you know exactly how to develop those ideas immediately. You know what I mean? Where some people are just creative, but they don't know how to do the techie and make it sound good, and you know what I mean, that kind of stuff.
I just need to add the business aspect to you, and then you
watch the space, brother.
Sorry, man, but that's like how Jay-Z was, right? He was a producer and a rapper, but he also knew the business aspects, and he just put it all together. That's why he got to be as successful as he is. Same with Kanye, So you find all these oaks that can tie the elements together, they become more successful than the other folk that only have one element of it. So I went back eventually. Spoke to my wife, said, I'm going to give it 6 months. 6 months. If it doesn't work out, I always got the job back because those guys tried to get me for another 3 months. And you guys are playing here. I mean, it's almost a year. You need to give me a full-time job or make it long-term contracts. And there's perks for getting a full-time job at the bank, but I was going to become the people.
Hey, he's working by bank.
That's okay, dude. I had responsibilities. So, went back for 6 months. All we were doing was pitching, dude. Yeah, so it's like Venture Burn, Techstars, Endeavor. There's a few of these pitch dens that exist. Like Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or whatever. Yeah. So you go, there's a bunch of startups and fintechs that come through and you got your 5 minutes to pitch your story. And we had to practice those things over and over and then learn from the last one and go to the next one. And all you're trying to do is just trying to get money.
Yeah.
Going from the next round to the next round to the next round. Because what we needed to move to the next level was staff. We needed people to help us. So, we got into bed with the Jewish mafia. It's not really the Jewish mafia. It's just, Jewish folk are quite business savvy and therefore very successful business-wise here in SA. And I guess in many other regions in the world. So these folks naturally have the monies and they invest to make more money. So that's what they do. So we found 2 Jewish guys that were fairly successful in business in the past, and they assisted us to get our business profile looking decent. Another guy assisted us with just introducing us to investors. And then we found these guys that took a chance on us. They're actually property investors. The main guy, he's from SA, went to Amsterdam. Those guys, I think it was a time where the property market wasn't the best at all. So they were looking for something to diversify. And here comes this tech company and we sell, dude, we're just selling, And eventually, they gave us 10 million rand. That was in 2016. They gave us 10 million rand, and with that, we could pay ourselves salaries, hire a bunch of folk, and then we just started signing people. And then last year, we changed the name to OZOW. At this point now, it's big now. We process over $1 billion in a month. Rands.
Probably the biggest card payment processing.
No, we don't process cards. That's the interesting thing. we stick to a niche, which is EFT, which we feel is.
I'm saying so. Well, it's just all electronic payment.
That's bank to bank. So it's what you got in the UK now. It's just launched maybe a year or so ago called open banking. And in Europe they started something called PSD2. In South Africa they still don't have that ready yet, and we basically created the layer before the layer exists. Okay. And we moved towards there. I think probably in the next month they're gonna announce, the South African Reserve Bank's gonna announce an open banking strategy. But our strategy is more Africa than just open banking. For instance, I mean, in Europe, if you're in the Netherlands and you need to pay somebody in Germany, it's just like a transfer.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, the law of reporting and the tax and all of that, because of the different regions. So that's what our play right now. That's where we're trying to go now, is trying to unite the emerging markets in Africa.
Nice, man. That's beautiful.
And and that's our thing. So probably by our evaluation will be sitting at grand. So it's worked out. It's worked out.
Let me, just,
6 years.
let me just check how much that is when you convert to pounds to make sure.
A little. Very little.
Yeah, but bruh, fucking hell, man, that's a hell of a story, and I think it'll be probably inspirational for a lot of people, man, because like people in South Africa, like how do you, like what do you do? I mean, like I was gonna ask you as well, like what do you see? I mean, how do you see in the future for South Africa? Because not many people think like you do, you know what I mean, or in terms of innovating or being an entrepreneur. Or,
well, that's the first thing I would like to do to help change that is then use the experience that I've gone through in this and mentor guys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So guys that have ideas but they don't know how to take it off the ground, I want to work with them and take them to the next level. So maybe take some of my investment monies and invest in them and take it. I mean, the government has done some stuff to put money in people's pockets to assist them. The thing is, you really need to be savvy and understand the laws and how things work in order to make it work out. So you'll always find the guys that have had money historically understand that, and therefore they always benefiting of these grants.
Yeah, but it's like you were saying, bro, like, you were talking about, your Jewish investors, right? At the table of, say, a white Jewish family when you're 7 years old is different to the conversation going on at our table when I'm 7 years old with my parents. So, I mean, they could be talking stocks and bonds, investment shares, ISAs, blah, 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 whereas we'll just be talking about the cricket. So that type of, what I'm saying, like,
some oaks know the football teams better than they know their own jobs. It's ridiculous. So the energy is there, and the knack to know certain things and this, to be really good at something, it is there, but probably the focus is in the wrong place.
Yeah. I know for me personally, it's taken me a long time to get over certain obstacles and hurdles. And it's not by any fault of my own. It's just literally because of historically or whatever, or our parents and the opportunities that they didn't have or whatever and stuff like that. But we need to now, as moving into now the senior generation of life, like you say, mentorships, bro, like taking it back, helping out those people who have the talent and the skills to do it, but don't have the savvy or the business know-how or like the understanding of legal systems and, all those types of things. How to set up a business and make it profitable. You know what I mean? All those types of things, bro. It's important. It's really important.
And you also need to be careful with who you trust for that as well.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you'll have people very friendly, very well-to-do because they dress nice, they appear nice. Doesn't mean they're nice. They make you sign documents, and at the end of the day, you signed your life away.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You need to be able to sit down and have the patience to actually read through a contract, or if you don't have the patience, go and like find money to pay a lawyer to come and look over your contracts for you. Just things like that, instead of just being like, this brass is paying me 20 grand here, let me just go sign this thing. And then you signed your like we were talking about those Owens that come and they fish for quick get rich quick schemes and blah blah, and then you end up sending your whole life savings and then you fucked after that.
Yeah. A lot of people fall for that quite easily, but it's difficult to do that. And the thing is, in the same breath, I'm probably saying, trust me, don't trust another.
Mentorship doesn't have to be in necessarily investment in a financial sense. It can be skills based. It can be knowledge and information based. So like the analogy of teaching the man to fish rather than just giving the man the fish, type of thing,
So, yeah, I think it's a bit more intense than that. Like, you can send people on courses. You can have a course on how to start up and all that, but you have to walk the journey with the guys. I would myself, I always think things. So I would be very angry if I mentored a guy and then threw him into the ocean and a shark came and chowed him. So I'm gonna jump in with the oak And then as sharks are coming there with a harpoon, like shoot, make sure the oak goes like, okay, this is where you can now. Okay, cool. This is where you eat the plankton. This is it. And you see those shark oaks, when they come, you need to move. Make sure that the oak is okay. Then I can jump out of the.
So you basically have to hold their hand until they can walk on their own.
You have to. These are like what the incubator programs do, the acceleration programs do. They exist, but they're not very welcoming to everybody. Put it that way.
Yeah,
no. So not everybody has quick access to this at all.
So, I mean, where do you see us? I mean, obviously you said you're going to start with mentorship, but I mean, like in South Africa, what do you see in the future, man? Like, what do you see happening?
That's exactly what I see. So, yeah, as we're approaching 40, by the way, I want to be 128 minimum. So I don't see this as like the heavy time, but my body does tell me I need to do certain things.
Yeah, well, there's stem cells, there's blood rejuvenation, like reoxygenizing your blood, like plastic surgery, Botox, hair dye.
I'll prefer to keep it natural and just live a more healthy lifestyle. Go for runs, eat better, and all of that. Pretty sure I can make it through.
I mean, COVID, there's cancer, there's alles.
Yeah. Look, maybe this is a bit of a secret that some people know and some don't. That nothing can exist in a certain pH level of alkaline. Even cancer will die in that type of environment. Cancer, AIDS, it all dies.
So if you can keep Sebi, yeah.
Hey?
You're studying Dr. Sebi.
I don't know where I saw it. I saw it, so I don't study anybody. I just read an article, like I'm doing that. So I drink like apple cider vinegar in the morning. That like kills yeast in your body, does that and kind of puts your level at the right place. And take vitamins and all of that.
Check out Dr. Sebi, bro.
Amy.
Sebi, S-E-B-I. Yeah, I mean he was I mean the School of Medical Science and stuff, they didn't really, rate him and his theories, but many people in the kind of alternative healing world and whatever, like he said he cured AIDS, he cured people from cancer, he cured people, because of his alkaline diets and the foods and things that he's basically been preaching. Well, he told people before he died and stuff. And I mean, he lived to a very old age as well, and basically died in prison because of starvation. He was put into prison because also because of the same things. Yeah, people weren't happy with the advice he was giving. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, she was a practitioner of his methodology and like his whole eating and they used to drink stuff and basically alkaline. There's lots of people that follow his
I'm gonna subscribe.
Check out Dr. Sebi. Yeah, he's a very interesting guy to research, even just on YouTube and watching his videos and stuff like that. But, believe into that. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, 128 is the year. For me, I'm very pro Africa. So a lot of people have left South Africa already. I'm giving up here. They're pulling their money out, going overseas. But I'm very pro Africa, so I'm here.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna take people like you to help and facilitate the change, bro. I always say yes.
More problems, more opportunity, right? So all business is about problem solving. So I'm tired of Oaks telling me that they have the next Uber. It's an Uber of phones, it's an Uber of schools. Stop doing an Uber of somebody else's thing. Do your own. Look at the problem, tie it to yourself, get passionate about it, and then you can fulfill it. Don't chase the money. Actually, just try to solve the Oaks problem, and the money will come with it.
Hey, but bro, it's been a fascinating conversation and just really nice to catch up as well, man. And I'm gonna have some follow-up episodes, maybe like a couple of months, 6, 7, 8 months, maybe a year later, and see how far you are, like, and see where you're at and whatever.
If you have pounds.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll have 15 pounds. No,
Yeah, bro. But got any like final thoughts you want to leave my listeners with or my viewers with? And
yeah, but this might make people leave their jobs. So
people need to hear it like it is, man.
Yeah, I watched I was actually watching a TV series yesterday called Ali and the Davidsons, and it's basically about Ali Davidson, how it started. There's 3 brothers and one guy called Ali. His surname's Ali, and that oak is like a hell of an engineer, and he gets like jobs offers from other guys, other big motor manufacturers, and he's thinking of getting it because his parents are pushing him that way. I think you even told me this a while ago when you were past 30, and I was like, why are you not getting married, bro? Like, children, don't, statistics. And you were like, we have more freedom than our parents. So in the story, like, his parents are like trying to drive him in the way that they want his life to go. And he sees these guys busy with Harley Davidson, and it's his engine in there. So his name is still there, but he's going to go do something else. So eventually he says, sell me on, get me to stay, because he's about to go sign a contract with other guys. In fact, he signed it, he just didn't hand it in. And that guy says, there were 1 million people that built the pyramids, and none of them have their name on it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's 100% true. So all these oaks helping, just having their normal jobs, you're building that pyramid, but your name's never going to be on it. Not at all. If you really want to make that impact, jump off there. Nothing happens in the boat, bro. You have to get out and walk on the water.
Yeah, that's true. Bro, thank you so much for that, man, bro. It's been mad and mad interesting and an awesome conversation. So it's been the Other Side of the Sun podcast. I'm the Solar Kid. That's Mitchan Adams, and we are out. Peace.